When we think of famous ancient monuments, several amazing wonders come to mind. Naturally, the Colosseum and Machu Picchu, the Great Wall and Stonehenge, sure. And for many of us, right at the top of the list are the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx. We know why most of the world's ancient monuments were built, but the exact reasons for why and where the Sphinx was built are still somewhat unclear. Standing at a colossal 20 meters high and 70 meters long, the Sphinx is instantly recognizable as a classic symbol of Egypt. With its lion's body and face of a pharaoh, it's clear that the Sphinx was built to both honor past rulers and serve as a protector of the surrounding pyramids. However, why exactly the Sphinx was designed as it was and why it was built near the Giza pyramids is more difficult to ascertain. One of the main reasons is that out of the hundreds of written inscriptions on tombs in the area of the Sphinx, not one of them directly refers to the monumental statue. So it's been up to the expert Egyptologists around the world to shed some light on the Sphinx. Here's what we do know. The actual name Sphinx isn't Egyptian. It's thought to have come from Greece, where sphinxes were also a common mythical creature. The Greek word spingion means to squeeze, as a lion might do to its prey. However, this is speculative at best. Sphinxes weren't just restricted to Egypt and Greece. They were also prevalent figures in ancient Rome, Mesopotamia, and even down to southern Asia. Although the role and appearance of a sphinx differed depending on the society, the common theme was a lion's body. The Greek sphinxes were also often winged and had the head of a woman, as opposed to the best-known sphinx in Giza. Greek sphinxes were often portrayed as cunning and treacherous, which is in stark contrast to Egyptian sphinxes. In Egypt, sphinxes generally consisted of a lion's body and a male face. The faces were usually designed to resemble a king. Lions were originally a common wild animal in ancient Egypt. The big cats migrated up from the Saharan regions and lived around the Nile Valley on the edge of the desert. There were plenty of lions roaming around Egypt up until they began to die out during the New Kingdom, from around 550 to 1070 BCE. Lions were an obvious choice of worship for the Egyptians. They were revered for their strength and nobility, and pharaohs were only too keen to liken their own images with the power and royal-like qualities of the lion. Most importantly, the reclining lion was seen as the ideal portrayal of a noble creature protecting its family and sacred land. Sphinxes were commonly used throughout Egypt as spiritual guardians. They were built outside of temples and tombs to protect the dead. Sometimes many sphinxes were erected, such as near Luxor in ancient Egypt, where a 3-kilometer avenue is lined with sphinx statues. Many sphinxes had male heads, usually depicting a king. However, female heads were also used, such as that of the female pharaoh Hatshepsut. Animal heads were also used, including falcons, rams, and jackals. The Sphinx at Giza has a man's head and wears a nemes, which is a cloth headdress worn by pharaohs. Its face also has a suitably regal expression, the face of a king. But which king? Archaeologists have determined the Sphinx was built sometime around 2575 to 2500 before the Common Era. This was during the 4th dynasty, meaning it was most likely constructed during the reign of the Pharaoh Khafre. However, Egyptologists are still divided about who the Sphinx was built for. Was it a testament to Khafre, who was the reigning pharaoh during its construction, or was it built by Khafre in honor of his father? Archaeologists have searched in vain for any concrete clues that might offer a hint. No inscriptions have been found that might suggest who the Sphinx was actually built for. Experts, though, of course, have their ideas. Much of the study concerns where the Sphinx lies in relation to the 3 pyramids of Giza. Each pyramid represents a ruler. Hieroglyphic texts provide evidence that the biggest pyramid is dedicated to the pharaoh Khufu. Construction of this pyramid is thought to have gotten underway during his reign, in about 2550 before the Common Era, or I guess BCE if I wanted to abbreviate. It stands at roughly 147 meters high, and like the next 2, were carved from limestone, granite, and marble, much of which was transported to the site. The next pyramid to be built was for Khufu's son Khafre. The 3rd pyramid belongs to Khafre's son Menkaure and is significantly smaller than the other 2. The Sphinx lies directly in front of Khafre's pyramid. This leads to one popular school of thought, which is that the Sphinx was built by Khafre for Khafre. Some have guessed that Khafre commissioned the massive statue as a part of an intensive construction project that included his final place of burial and numerous temples. Experts who support this view point to the location of Khafre's pyramids and temples. The Sphinx was built several hundred meters in front of Khafre's pyramid. This suggests its purpose was to prevent evil spirits from coming into contact with Khafre, just as an alert lion would watch over its sleeping cubs. Other historians have suggested that while the Sphinx was most likely created during Khafre's reign, it was actually designed to honor his father, Khufu. If this was the case, though, why was the huge statue aligned exactly in front of Khafre's pyramid? Yet another idea is that the Sphinx was built to honor all kings buried at Giza. Perhaps construction got underway with Khafre and was continued by his son Menkaure. No matter which pharaoh or pharaohs the Sphinx was built for, one thing is certain. It was designed to align with the sun and sky and to connect to the gods. The ancient Egyptians were famous for their fascination with the movement of the sun and stars. They were especially fixated by the sun, and their chief deity was Ra, god of the sun. Ra, and by association the sun itself, represented all life, creation, heaven, and light. The Sphinx's location wasn't simply designed to guard pyramids and temples. The location was very carefully chosen so that it could be perfectly aligned with the equinoxes and the summer solstice. As it stands, the Sphinx faces the sunrise in the east. The northern hemisphere's equinoxes, when day and night are the same length, occur in March and September, marking the beginning of spring and autumn, respectively. During these 2 days, the sun aligns perfectly behind the Sphinx as it sets in the west. The Sphinx also aligns with the sun during the summer solstice. The summer solstice is basically the opposite of the equinox. This is the time when the Earth's tilt brings the North Pole to its closest possible proximity to the sun. As a result, this creates the most sunlight or the longest day of the year. The summer solstice in Giza also demonstrates the intent behind where the Sphinx was built. Just as with the equinox, if you look to the west from the Sphinx, the sun sets exactly between the Khafre and Khufu pyramids. Given the Egyptians' meticulous precision with geometry and mathematics, it seems unlikely that that's just a coincidence. So, if the Sphinx was created in such a specific position, what's the meaning and significance beyond protecting tombs and pyramids? Once again, there are several theories. One is that the Sphinx acts as an extension of the sun god Ra. Because of its precise location and dimensions, the Egyptians may have built it hoping to harness good fortune and perhaps vitality from the sun. Their kingdom would be blessed because of the ultimate tribute here to Ra. Another is that because of the Sphinx's alignment with the sun, it's able to access the necessary power for protecting the pyramids and tombs of past pharaohs. This is what worried Egyptians, being denied a smooth transition to the afterlife. Life on Earth was seen as simply a stage of what was in eternal existence. This explains the incredible preparation and planning Egyptians put into death and its rituals, almost bordering on obsession. Pharaohs, in particular, were expected to be delivered straight to the heavens upon death. In the afterlife, pharaohs were believed to become stars, where they would live for eternity. But getting in the way of a glorious afterlife were evil spirits, and they didn't get much bigger than Apep, the deity of darkness. Apep was symbolized as a serpent and the polar opposite of Ra. Ra represented life, light, and hope. Apep brought the dark and chaos. The pyramids and their surrounding tombs and temples were seen as gateways to the heavens. However, if the likes of Apep had their way, a smooth journey to the afterlife could be jeopardized. And that is where the motive for the Sphinx most likely comes in. Such a colossal, imposing figure of strength that was so perfectly aligned with the sun would surely be able to protect the cherished dead and allow for a smooth path to the ultimate afterlife. The Sphinx is much more than a breathtaking example of Egyptian architecture and vision. It lets us explore the customs and beliefs of one of the world's most advanced civilizations, and what exactly made them tick.